Stop seeking external validation and start mastering your emotional discipline. While the world distracts itself with constant updates, you can choose to treat privacy as your ultimate strategic asset. This is how you transition from a loud amateur to a silent powerhouse, ensuring your final success is the only announcement you ever need. Chapter 1: The Performance Trap. Let's talk about what is actually happening to creators, entrepreneurs, and ambitious people in 2026. They wake up. They check their metrics. They craft a post about what they are about to build. They announce the course they have not yet finished, the business they have not yet launched, the book they have not yet written. Then they spend the rest of the day monitoring the response, refreshing, checking, waiting for validation that tells them they are on the right track. That cycle is not productivity. That is a dopamine loop dressed up as hustle. Here is what social media platforms actually reward: engagement, not results; consistency of posting, not quality of thinking; volume, not depth. The algorithm does not care whether you are building something real. It cares whether you showed up today. And if you confuse algorithmic visibility with actual progress, you have already lost before you started. 90% of creators in 2026 are producing content about what they intend to do rather than doing it. They are professional announcers. They have mastered the aesthetics of ambition without the substance of execution. Their entire identity is tied to being seen working rather than actually working. Now here's the cost nobody talks about. Every time you publicize a goal before it is complete, you experience a psychological phenomenon where the social recognition of announcing the goal partially satisfies the same reward system that completing the goal would satisfy. In simple terms, telling people you are going to build something gives your brain a fraction of the reward of actually building it, which means you are now less motivated to complete the thing because you already received partial payment in applause. That is the trap. The applause comes early. The work never gets finished. Beyond the psychology, there is a tactical cost. When you publicize your strategy, your competitors see it. Your detractors have time to prepare. People who want to see you fail now have a roadmap of exactly where to apply pressure. Transparency feels authentic. It is also operationally reckless. Thomas Shelby never stood in a public square and announced his next acquisition. He gathered intelligence, made decisions in private, moved when the timing was absolute, and by the time anyone realized what had happened, the position was already locked. That is not arrogance. That is architecture. You do not need to perform your ambition. You need to execute it. Stop building a brand around the idea of building something. Start building the actual thing. The distinction between those two paths is the difference between someone who talks about the game and someone who controls it. Chapter 2: The Strategy of Calculated Silence. Silence is not a lack of activity. It is a weapon. The loudest people in any industry are rarely the most dangerous ones. The people you should be watching are the ones you rarely hear from, the ones who surface suddenly with something so fully formed, so completely executed, that by the time you understand what they built, they're already 3 moves ahead of your response. This is what calculated silence actually looks like in practice. You stop announcing milestones in real time. You stop seeking external confirmation that your direction is correct. You make your decisions based on data, analysis, and honest self-assessment, not based on what your audience responds to enthusiastically. You remove the public from your decision-making process entirely. The transition from loud consumer to silent architect requires one fundamental shift. You have to find your satisfaction in the work itself, not in the reaction to the work. That is harder than it sounds. The modern internet has conditioned you to need a response. Every piece of content you have ever published has trained you to expect feedback as the payoff. Removing that feedback loop feels like deprivation at first. It is actually freedom. When nobody knows what you are building, nobody can undermine it. Nobody can copy your current iteration before it is complete. Nobody can talk you out of your strategy by performing skepticism in your comments. Nobody can take the idea and execute it faster because they watched you telegraph every step on social media. Privacy becomes a competitive moat. not because you are hiding, but because you are protecting the compounding advantage of undisturbed execution. Your competitor is posting 3 times a day about their morning routine, their productivity system, their vision board. You are using those hours to build actual infrastructure. The gap between you and them is not talent, it is allocation of attention. Understand this clearly. Silence is not absence. It is presence directed inward instead of outward. Every hour you do not spend performing productivity is an hour you can spend generating it. The psychological shift required here is real, and it takes time. You will feel irrelevant. You will feel like you are falling behind because you are not visible. You will see people with louder voices getting more attention and mistake that for winning. They are not winning. They are entertaining. You are building. Those are not the same game. Stop playing their game. Define your own metrics. Operate on your own timeline and let the silence compound into something that cannot be ignored when it finally surfaces. Chapter 3. Internal discipline and raw power. This chapter is where most people nod along and then do nothing. Do not be that person. Deep work is the only real currency of the knowledge economy. Every serious study on cognitive performance confirms the same finding. Sustained, uninterrupted focus on a single complex task produces outputs that fragmented attention simply cannot replicate. The quality of your thinking degrades with every context switch. The depth of your work is directly proportional to your ability to protect large, unbroken blocks of time. Your daily routine needs to be engineered around this truth. The first 2 to 4 hours of your day should be completely locked. No social media, no email, no content consumption, no checking anything. You enter that window with a single defined task, the most important thing you need to produce or advance, and you stay there until it is done. This is non-negotiable if you are serious about building anything real. Your phone is not a productivity tool. It is an interruption device. Every notification is a forced context switch that costs you an average of 23 minutes of focused recovery time. Do the math on what that means across a workday. You are not bad at discipline. You have simply built your environment to make discipline structurally impossible. Fix the environment first. Emotional mastery is the second pillar. You will encounter people who are not building anything meaningful, but who are extremely vocal about the limitations of what you are attempting. You will have days where the work feels disconnected from any visible result. You will feel the pull to post something, to prove you are still active, still relevant, still in the conversation. Resist it, not because posting is always wrong, but because posting from a place of needing to prove something always produces the wrong content for the wrong reasons. Thomas Shelby did not explain himself to people who were not in a position to challenge him. He understood that the need to justify your moves to an unqualified audience is a form of insecurity. Confidence in your direction does not require external verification. If you need approval to keep moving, your conviction is borrowed, not owned. Skill acquisition must be your primary invisible investment, not the skill of looking skilled, the skill itself, whatever your industry. Writing, coding, finance, operations, sales. There is always a deeper level of technical competence available to you that most people in that space have not accessed. Go there. Spend time there. Build capability that the market cannot yet see but will eventually have to pay for. That is how you accumulate raw power before anyone knows to compete with you. Chapter 4. The Architecture of the Unseen Move. Not all markets reward silence equally. You need to understand where stealth operations give you the highest structural advantage. Industries with high information asymmetry, where knowledge of what is actually happening is unevenly distributed, reward the operator who gathers better data, moves faster, and reveals less. Real estate, private equity, B2B services, logistics, niche manufacturing, proprietary software, and specialized consulting all operate on asymmetric information. The person who knows something others do not, and who acts on that knowledge before announcing it, consistently wins. Content creation, by contrast, is structurally transparent. The entire model requires visibility. If you are building a content brand, you cannot go fully dark. but you can still apply the principle, build the infrastructure, the systems, the back-end revenue diversification in total silence while the public-facing content remains strategic rather than confessional. Data-driven decision-making means your compass is internal, not external. You are not making decisions based on what is trending. Trending topics are where the crowd is, and the crowd is always late. By the time something is trending, the arbitrage opportunity has already been compressed. The operators who position 3 months before the trend are the ones who benefit from it. Your internal metrics are what matter, not follower count, not engagement rate, not viral reach. How much did you produce this week? What is the quality of the output? How many days did you execute the deep work protocol? What revenue or infrastructure did you add to your actual business? Track what compounds. Ignore what flatters. The feedback loop of private victories is underestimated as a motivational system. Every time you complete a deep work session, finish a module, close a deal, finish a draft, record it privately, build a running log of execution. This log becomes your evidence base that the work is actually moving. When motivation drops, which it will, you go back to that log and see the compounding record of what your silence has actually produced. Small private wins compound. This is not a metaphor. Every capability you build quietly adds to a structural position that your competitors cannot accurately assess. They cannot see your inventory. They cannot see your renbori. They cannot see your next move. That uncertainty is an advantage. Unpredictability protects you more than any marketing strategy. Move in the dark. Build in the dark. Let the work accumulate until the position is so established that announcing it becomes optional, not because you need attention, but because the result speaks with a volume that no post ever could. Chapter 5: Reshaping Reality on Your Terms. The reveal is not a celebration. It is a statement of dominance. When you finally surface, when the product launches, the company goes public, the deal closes, the book releases, it should land with a weight that reflects the depth of what was built beneath it. The reveal is not emotional. It is not an exhale of relief. It is the opening move of the influence phase, executed from a position of total structural security. This is the transition most people never reach because they ran out of patience in the building phase and traded their position for attention before it was fully consolidated. You need to understand what fully consolidated means specifically for your situation. It does not mean perfect. Nothing is ever perfect. It means the position is defensible. It means the infrastructure is load-bearing. It means if someone tries to copy, undercut, or compete with you in the next 30 days, they are starting from zero while you are operating from a compounding base that cannot be replicated quickly. When you reach that threshold, the reveal becomes strategic instead of desperate. Before that threshold, silence. After it, you dictate terms. The influence phase is categorically different from the building phase. In the building phase, you are invisible by discipline. In the influence phase, you are visible by design. You choose what to reveal, when to reveal it, and how to frame it. You are not reacting to the market. You are presenting to the market from a position of established authority that cannot be easily questioned because the receipts are already in front of everyone. This is where leverage lives. Leverage is not about being louder than everyone else. Leverage is about having something real that others need and being in a position where you can set the conditions of access. That leverage is only available to you if you built the thing properly, quietly, systematically, without leaking the roadmap to the people who would have obstructed it. Maintaining the invisible empire mindset after the reveal is what separates the people who build once from the people who build repeatedly. The reveal is not the finish line. It is the beginning of the next cycle. You take the capital, financial, social, relational, generated by the first empire, and you redirect it into the building phase of the next one. Still quiet, still disciplined, still operating on internal metrics rather than external validation. Market volatility cannot touch you at the foundational level if you are continuously building capabilities and assets that exist independent of any single trend, platform, or moment of public attention. The invisible empire is not a single project. It is a permanent operating philosophy. Thomas Shelby did not stop when Birmingham was secured. He moved to the next territory, and the one after that, not because he was greedy, because he understood that the discipline of strategic building is what separates the people who hold power from the people who borrow it. You do not borrow power, you build it. Stop waiting for the perfect moment to announce yourself. Stop performing your ambition for an audience that will not be there when the work gets hard. The empire you need to build does not require a single post, a single announcement, or a single piece of external validation. It requires one thing: disciplined, unglamorous, invisible execution, repeated until the result is so undeniable that silence was never weakness, it was strategy. The world will notice when you are ready for it to. Until then, build in the dark, protect your process, compound your advantages, and let the work become the only announcement you ever needed to make.